Okay, right. Thank you, Ollie. Good afternoon, all of you who are joining us live. Thank you for being here. And hello to those of you who are watching this on a recording. We've had lots of requests this time for the recording. I know it's always tricky to decide the best time to host this type of thing, and appreciate it can be quite difficult to join live. So I know obviously if you're watching the recording, you won't be able to join in the interaction, but do feel free to email us with any questions that you have. I will introduce myself now as well to any of you who are watching who don't know me. So I'm Darren, founder and MD of Motus, and we're a health and lifestyle coaching company. So we work with people and organizations who want to change their lifestyles, prioritize their health so they can be at their best in every area of life. So today's session, this is the third one of these we've done. They've been monthly so far this year. Today's session is all about motivation. And the reason we picked this topic this month is because motivation is something that comes up very, very frequently when we're talking to people about health, fitness and well-being, particularly when people approach us and they want some help with their health, their fitness and well-being. So it seems to be something that people struggle with generally, and possibly are struggling with even more at the moment, as we come to, or hopefully what could be the end of a long year of lockdowns. And actually it's one of the main reasons as well that people decide to enroll on our 30-day program, which I will mention to you a little bit later. But before we really get into the main content for today's session, I'd like to know from all you guys who are here, what it is specifically that you'd like to get from today's workshop. Why did you decide to join us for what might be your lunch hour? Who's going to be brave, Sandra?
Thanks. I'm looking to get some motivation, Darren.
The motivation needs to flow down the internet.
Yes, please.
Okay. We'll see what we can do. When you say motivation, what does motivation mean to you?
It means inspiring me to get off my chair and do something.
Okay. Well, we'll do our very best to do that. Do you mean actually during the session?
Well, that as well, if you like. I see Jane looks very busy.
Well, I don't know about during a session, but hopefully generally we can do that. Okay, who else would like to come on and tell us what they'd like to get from today?
I'll go next. I think generally my motivation has actually been quite high, but it's just kind of petering off a little bit at the moment. So I set myself like a specific challenge, which I've done now, and I'm kind of worried that that'll just fizzle out, or that I will not quite get to where I want to get to, and then I might just feel a bit disappointed about that. But I'm kind of almost there, but not quite, and I want to keep going.
Brilliant. Okay, so it's almost like what next?
Yeah, to see it. I feel like I've done like sort of 75%. I just want to make sure I want to get the whole way. Otherwise, I'll just end up in this cycle of I'm never quite feeling how I want to be or get to where I want to be. I'd like to actually get there.
Okay, so it's motivation to kind of push on for those the final.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Anyone else? I've actually had a few people who have asked this question too in advance of the session today, and a few of the answers that came up were it's about to get motivated to get started with either exercising or eating healthily, either starting altogether, or the fact that they're kind of going a bit start stop, how to maintain motivation, I guess. So yeah, we'll definitely make sure we try and cover all of these things throughout the session. And we also have two more intentions for the session today as well, which I'll come to in a moment. But I do have another question for you first, and that is, what is it that you need motivation for? What specifically is it? Is it a certain type of activity? You know, is it more exercise? Is it more making good choices? Jane, you've covered this already a little bit. What about you, Sandra?
I think it's the motivation to exercise, really. It's very easy to choose not to do that.
Yeah.
So,
locked up.
and if you don't have a specific goal, if you're not training for something, or if you don't have something specific in mind, then it's very difficult to be motivated and to maintain that motivation.
Okay, all right, thank you. What about you, Helly?
I think there's a bigger piece around, obviously we've been in lockdown for a year and a day, and we're about to come out of lockdown and lives are going to get busier again. And perhaps some of the habits that we might have been able to introduce whilst we've been at home a lot more, they might start falling by the wayside. So it's almost kind of setting up for success going forward as life changes once again.
Yeah, okay, brilliant, thank you. Again, I asked this question of a few people in advance of the session today as well. And I guess collectively, the few people I asked, what they said was that their fear, I suppose, was that because they weren't feeling motivated or struggled with motivation, that was what was stopping them make progress and ultimately get the results that they want with their health. That they thought that motivation was like a key part of that, and that without it they wouldn't ultimately get to where they want to be. So yeah, I mean, figuring out motivation, I guess, is really, really important to people, and that's exactly why we wanted to put this session on for you all today.
Can I just pick up on something that Hayley just said there? I kind of really, that resonates with me, because I'm beginning to think of what's next, and life will get busier, and I've actually put some good things in place, and I want to be able to keep them going as well. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of juggling that as well. Okay. And the other thing on motivation is also getting a bit bored with doing the same thing as well in lockdown. Yeah. That's one of the things, you know, my walking route is the same one, which I'm just going to do different directions. So there's a bit of boredom in there as well.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense, Jane. So what things that you have put in place are you worried might get pushed out when things change?
Well, I mean, so for instance, I'm really enjoying some yoga that I've started doing in lockdown. And I know that there'll be clashes in some of the timetables of some of those things with other things that I would want to go back to. So and I don't want to lose it, but I also want to go back to the choir, for instance, when it starts. So I'm just wondering how that's going to work. And I guess it's just finding alternatives. But I'm sure everything will be a bit up in the air. Yeah, you know, I have no idea whether all these sort of online sessions, which actually work really well for me because I can combine it with being at home, if that suddenly you have to actually go physically to places rather than being able to just join something for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, I won't be able to do that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And we had quite a long session with one of the businesses that we worked with last week, talking about exactly this, talking about, okay, what is it that we're doing that has worked really well or we really enjoy, and how do we incorporate that going forwards? And yeah, kind of weighing up and planning all the different options, because yeah, it would just be so easy for stuff to just get swept aside. So I think the main thing, and that's going to help you, is the very fact that you're aware of that and thinking about it before it happens. rather than just arrive 3 months down the line and go, oh, didn't I used to do that back in lockdown? Didn't I used to do something else? So that's brilliant. Okay, so our two other intentions, I guess, for this session today are to try and clear up some of the, I guess you could describe them as misconceptions or confusion around the concept of motivation. And then secondly is to share with you all a bit of an alternative approach, which will mean that regardless of how motivated you feel on any given day, you'll still be able to make the progress that you want towards the results that you want. So yeah, we will endeavour to do that within the next 45 minutes or so. And in order to do that, we're going to cover why willpower alone just isn't enough and doesn't work, how to actually improve your health without the need for motivation, how to stop, I guess, procrastinating or waiting for the right time or the right moment. And we often hear from clients, oh, when this happens, then I'm going to feel motivated. And then finally, you know, what we consider to be kind of three really important, three keys for long-term success when it comes to motivation. So what we need to do first is get very, very clear on exactly what we mean when we use the word motivation and whether we're motivated or not, what that really means. It might mean some different things to different people. So I'd love to know. I'm going to ask the reverse question of you all, first of all. So what does it feel like when you're not motivated?
I'll go here if you like. So what I do is I do everything else but the thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I have a lot of that. Things that I wouldn't normally do, I will do just to put off the thing that I think.
Oh, I need to
and I tell everybody this is what I want to do, and I do other things instead just to put it off.
Okay, interesting. I'm seeing some nodding heads as well.
Yes, I agree.
It's something that sounds familiar. So is that a feeling of not being motivated to do, whether it's, let's say, exercise or whatever it is, because you're more motivated to do something else, or because you're not motivated to exercise?
Definitely not motivated to do the things that I do instead, because I've been putting them off for ages because they have no interest and I don't enjoy them.
Okay. Anyone else want to talk about what it feels like when you're not motivated?
I think it might be for me, you reach a bit of a plateau and you're just a bit bored, maybe, as well. It's kind of, what is the benefit? Right, I'm going to move again now.
All right, a little talk. Okay, and now would somebody come on and talk to me about the last time that they felt really motivated? When was it? How did it feel? Who's got a good example?
I can tell you when I decided to do couch to 5K in lockdown 3. So I went out in all weathers starting the 3rd of January and went through snow and ice and everything, or try to avoid the ice anyway, and did it. I've now finished that, which is great. The thought now of maintaining it, going for a run is a bit, I will do it and I have done it, but it doesn't make me think I'm not waking up thinking, oh, I'm looking forward to this. I do it and I feel better for it, but it's not something I think, oh, I'm really looking forward to this, which means that in due course, it might just go by the wayside, even though I know it's good for me.
Sure. Can you think of can you remember one particular run or one particular day when you were particularly motivated? You're like, yeah, this is good. This is what I need to do.
I think actually the first day I was really kind of, and I never thought I would be able to go that far or anything. It was a horrible day. Well, it was a very nice day. And I just having that sort of determination that I wasn't, it was partly as well, just getting through January and February and the first lockdown. And my motivation was to have something to show for it at the end of it.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. So with that motivation, when we experience that, what other feelings go hand in hand with it?
Well, I got a huge sense of achievement from just doing it. Definitely felt much better about myself. But it's kind of what the next, is what happens next, because I've kind of achieved that milestone, which I set out to do.
Okay, brilliant. Who else can talk to us about the last time they felt really, really motivated? Someone be brave, come on.
Go on then. So it was a few weeks ago. Obviously my time doesn't work for me, so it's probably January, I guess. And I got back into the whole exercising, and I was getting up in the morning as not a morning person and exercising, and I really enjoyed it, and it made my days better. I felt more positive. And then, that's kind of just trailed off. I don't feel quite so more motivated to get up and do it.
Okay. So when you were feeling motivated, Rebecca, how long did that period of time last?
Probably about 6 weeks.
Okay.
Possibly. I'd have to check my diary, but I think it's about that. I think.
Yeah, that's quite a long time.
Yes. Well, I thought I created habit, and I honestly thought this is in now. I am getting up and exercising in the morning, and then it just, maybe that was the fatal thing, is thinking I got it sorted, and it just disappeared.
Okay, interesting. Next question for you all then. What factors are you aware of that affect your motivation, either positively or negatively?
I pick sleep.
Sleep.
Yeah, if I've slept, and so everything just works a lot better. So I need to be fully, recharged, I guess.
Sleeped. That sounds good. Anyone else? What affects motivation positively or negatively? Anna?
I was just going to say my energy levels, but I guess that's not just sleep though. I think it's how well I'm looking after myself, how regularly I'm eating, and all the fundamentals. They all either conspire to work for or against.
Okay, you're saying there's a positive correlation between energy and motivation? Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say, for me, I find seeing progress or results helps keep me motivated. But if I don't feel like I've made progress, that kind of goes. So I guess the need to see progress is my motivation.
Okay, yeah, good point. Good point.
Can I add another one?
Of course.
So I have been more motivated to try and get on my bike more than I would normally, because I've got to keep up with the children.
Ah, yes. Yes, that's a good strategy, I reckon. Okay, So thinking now about a situation where you don't feel motivated, think about a time where you really didn't feel motivated, what did you do differently as a result? Who hasn't spoken for a while? Hayley.
Hello. What was the question? Sorry.
The question is, thinking about a time where you weren't feeling motivated, what did you do or not do differently as a result?
What do you mean in order to exercise or move?
It can be related to exercise or anything else. So let's say you had a plan, and then for whatever reason you woke up, weren't feeling motivated. What happened?
Two scenarios. I'll either just, regardless of whether I feel motivated or not, just almost not think about it, just put my stuff on and go, or just do whatever it is I've set myself to do. Otherwise, similar to what was said earlier, I'll think, I'll definitely do that at some point. I'll kind of change my schedule up and push it back and back and back until there isn't possibly any time left for me to do it. So I either do one or the other. I either don't think about it and just do it, or I kind of talk myself into thinking I'll do it later, but actually I never do.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I think the main danger, I suppose, when we don't feel motivated to do whatever it is that we decided we were going to do, whatever it is that we planned, is simply that we end up not doing it. Either we just don't do it at all, or as you say, we push it back and back, and then because of other things, the opportunity just isn't there anymore, and so it doesn't happen. And that can be whether that's about exercising, or whether it's about making healthy choices with our food, or other things to do with our lifestyle. But here's the thing about motivation. So motivation, technically, the definition is that motivation is actually the reason for taking action. It's not actually the taking action itself. It's the reason that we want to achieve whatever it is with our health and well-being, whatever our ambitions are. So if we're not clear on exactly what the reasons are, well, firstly clear on what it is that we want to achieve, and then the reasons why. And I mean the real reasons, not the superficial ones that it's easy to just say, oh, because I think I should be a bit healthier. The real deep down reasons, then the likelihood is we are going to struggle to feel motivated much of the time. I mean, just think about the word itself, motivation. It comes from the word motive. So I guess when it comes to motivation, in terms of stuff that we can do to feel motivated more, the first thing is to get really clear about what our reasons are. Because if we can't call those to mind when we need them, then it's going to be much more likely that we put it off, or that we decide not to, or that we do it later. So then thinking about, okay, so what are the reasons? What are the benefits that we're going to get out of achieving whatever that result is? Not only to ourselves, also to other people as well. Who else is going to benefit from it? Because often it's almost easier to find motivation for other people than it is for ourselves. Or if you need to keep up with your children on your bike, for example. And how is it going to benefit them? What are they going to be able to do as a result of achieving this outcome? How is it going to impact your life? How's it going to make stuff better? And I'd say once you've got that absolute clarity on what that reason or those reasons are, that's a big step in the right direction, big step. But even then, let's say that you are someone who's very clear about the reasons and the goals. Let me ask you another question now. How often would you say that you feel really motivated? How many, I don't know, out of 10 days, how many days you're like, right, really motivated today, it's going to happen? Shout out some numbers. How many days?
2.
2. Sandra?
Not very often, I'm afraid.
How many days?
1.
1. Hayley?
Maybe a bit more, probably about half the time, I'd say.
Half or about half?
Probably half.
5.
5 out of 10.
Okay. Anna?
I'm going to be awkward. I'm going to go every day, but only for a short period of time. I think I get it every day, but it's like, that's my window. And if it doesn't happen in that window, then there's no chance.
In fact, hang on, was that a twitch or was that the motivation just like passing across your face? Just
No, I think that's it. I think I've,
I think it's gone.
I think I've
Okay.
had mine for today.
Let me ask you a different question then. How many hours in the average day do you feel motivated?
I'm going to think about that just for a second. One to 2 varies.
1 to 2. Okay.
It doesn't always happen at the same time of day either.
Okay, 1 to 2. Okay, I'm going to call that 1.5 days if I multiply that up. Out of 10. Ollie?
I don't know. It's not really. It's not thought about. How many days in a week do I feel motivated?
Let's say in 10 days, how often do you feel really motivated?
3.
3. Okay, Rebecca?
I've been thinking, trying to figure it out since you asked. And mine's kind of variable. So some weeks I feel really motivated all week, and then I'll have a week of feeling not motivated at all. And then I have a week of a couple of days of motivation. I think it's like you said, that it depends if I know what I'm trying to achieve.
Okay, so yeah, it fluctuates quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on the average there, I'd give myself a 2, by the way, as well. I reckon the average there is something between 2 and 3, maybe. Whatever the number is, yeah, we might have a week where it's maybe 4 or 5 days, and another week where it's 1 day. And I do this for a living. I'm really quite clear on what my motivations are, and I still reckon I'm only at 2 or 3 days out of 10. So the thing is, if we're only a 2 or 3 days out of 10, and we know that consistency is probably one of the biggest things when it comes to achieving results, and we're putting motivation up there as like a key piece of the jigsaw in terms of achieving our results, how likely is that to happen if on average we're maybe only at a 2 or 3? Slightly worrying.
It's not very motivating, Darren.
Not very motivating. Well, just you wait, Jane. No, the reality is it's going to make things very, very difficult if we're relying on motivation and placing so much stock on motivation for helping us achieve our results. And this is why it's so easy to get frustrated, A, with results, and B, with ourselves for not being as motivated as often as we think we should be. It's it's something we hear quite often, that people believe, or they have an expectation that we should feel motivated the majority of the time. And as if kind of by some kind of magic is going to happen, is going to come down, and suddenly we will feel motivated. Something's just going to click into place. But the reality, what we see with clients, is that it just really doesn't work like that. And so we do become very frustrated with ourselves about not being motivated, about not feeling motivated. So we've been thinking about this for years now. We've been working on this with people, and what we've come to realize is that it's not motivation that we require when it comes to achieving results. Oh, it is my slides that I require, so I've just switched my computer off. There we go. It's not motivation, it's actually discipline. And the key difference between discipline and motivation, and you can see a couple of the definitions for discipline up on the screen there, is that discipline is about taking consistent action. It's the active part of it. Motivation really is a feeling, it's a motive, it's a thought. Whereas discipline in this context is about the action. The reality is, we all know that to make significant changes to our health, whether it's to our bodies or whether it's to our energy levels, our lifestyles, is a long-term thing. It's a long-term project. To make significant changes, it's probably 12 months, years, perhaps. And that even when we get there to where we want to be, as Jane was saying earlier, we then need something in place to make sure that we maintain that, and we maintain our health, our fitness, and our lifestyle in a certain way. So it's not just a project that we can kind of tick off, not a finite thing. And I know some people shy away from the word discipline a little bit. It reminds us of, this was my teacher, it reminds us of school a little bit and having our knuckles wrapped. But I think when we talk about self-discipline, and when we get to decide, then that's something that's quite different. And so when we talk about the results that we want with our health and the outcomes we want, this is actually the opportunity. And the opportunity is that by thinking about discipline, self-discipline, rather than motivation, that's the route to success. Because with discipline, we can all learn that. We can practice discipline. We can create new habits. We can kind of train it effectively, if you like. Whereas motivation, as we've all just described, really is quite fleeting. And we can definitely make it, I guess, a bit more present by getting clearer on exactly what the motives are, what the goals are. But still, it's probably going to ebb and flow over time. So what we need really is having that clear motivation and the reason, the real deep down reasons. Add that to self-discipline, which we can create, which we can train, which we can practice. And those two things together are ultimately what will get us the success and the results that we need. Oh, can we scroll back one, please, Ollie? That's it. Quick question on that. What are anyone's reactions, responses to the idea of discipline, self-discipline, that equation?
I think that really, yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. And it makes me feel better that I don't feel motivated every day. But I was just thinking, so this morning, for instance, I was not motivated, but I went on my little run, which was the discipline bit, which will get me the results, but I wasn't motivated to do it, but I still did it, if that makes sense. So
Brilliant.
Yeah, and something that Hayley said also about just doing it. I can't remember what it was in relation to. Sometimes you just have to say, okay, I just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've, I don't know how many hundreds or maybe thousands of people I've worked with over the years. I can count on one hand the number of people who are probably motivated more than 60% of the time. It just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. It's not reliable. Even if you're talking about, this is another misconception as well, professional athletes. A lot of the time, it's the discipline, it's going through the motions. So one thing we'll talk about in a minute is what structures, what strategies can we put in place to make that happen.
And one thing I'd be interested to know is because sometimes it slips and you don't do it or you don't feel like it, and not then just falling off a cliff and just saying and giving up. How to kind of get back on as well.
Of course, we'll make sure we cover that in the Q&A. Anyone else got any thoughts or comments?
I think it's made it a lot clearer that I definitely need to know exactly why I'm trying to do what I do, so that I've got that focus perhaps on why why I should be motivated to do it.
Yeah. I don't think it's why you should be. It's kind of why you are.
Yeah.
Again, it might sound a subtle difference, but again, with health and fitness, we kind of know intellectually that from a health perspective, it would do us better to exercise more and to make better choices, because it's going to reduce our risk of long-term disease and all that kind of stuff. But often that doesn't really connect with us on a deeper level. So it's making sure that we've got kind of multiple reasons that we are really, really, truly tapped into, because we really want them rather than because we think we should.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then it's about, another key thing is how to stay connected to those reasons, because equally it's very easy to go too far the other way and say, right, okay, I need discipline, I need these routines, this is what I need to do. And you get so into the doing, the executing, the day-to-day, the week-to-week, then it's really easy to forget and go, okay, hang on, what was it that I started doing this for?
Yeah, I definitely get that. And then I lose the will to do anything because it seems a waste of time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so we've got to find a way of staying connected, I guess, to those real motivations. Okay, so yeah, the next piece of this then that we need, once we've established those clear motivations, the need for this self-discipline, is some kind of action plan. And some of you guys will know this already, but that's exactly what we work on in our 30-day program. People work one-to-one with a coach, and the very first thing we do is we create that vision. We establish, okay, what are your goals? What are the outcomes that you want, and why? What are the true reasons? And we will push people on that, because the clearer you are, the better it's going to work out for you. Just knowing your true motivation then enables you to build a better plan and create the habits and routines that are going to get you the results that you need. So over the 30 days, we'll then work with you to build a simple, personalized step-by-step action plan, so you can work out exactly what you'll need to do with your health and fitness to achieve those long-term results. And you're going to begin implementing that plan at the same time, step by step. And of course, we're there to make sure that it all happens. So the 30-day program, for those of you watching the recording, it's £197. And if you'd like to find out more, if it's right for you, then you can book a call with one of our team. There's either a link going to go in the chat now, or you'll receive it on email when you receive the recording as well. Okay, so moving on, what I'd like to do next is share with you what we consider to be the 3 keys to success when it comes to making it happen. Now we know what that formula is. The next bit is how do we make it happen? So number 1, and I might sound like a broken record here, which some of you will attest will not be the first time I am going to repeat myself, but it's back to that reason again. Start with why, start with the reason, because once you have that reason, it then becomes so much easier to work out the what and the how. So that's number 1. Number 2 is once we have that, we're going to start small and we're going to start simple. It's so easy to set ourselves an absolute mountain to climb when it comes to our health and well-being. And it's great to have these lofty long-term goals. Of course it is. But sometimes when you're looking up at that goal, when you're just getting started, it can just seem like too much, particularly when we've all got so many other things to do. And particularly, as we talked about already, as we're just about in the UK anyway, to move into the next phase of our release from captivity, and stuff's going to change again. So to start with, make it so simple that it's really difficult not to do it. So simple that it seems like you're not doing anything at all. Because, and this is part 3, when we do that, we create a habit of achieving what we set out to. We create a habit of doing stuff. We create a habit of success. So we get used to saying, right, this is the objective, this is what I've got to do, done. And we just do it. And once we start to build those habits, then we build momentum. And we take that habit, that routine, whatever you want to call it, and that turns into the self-discipline that we talked about earlier. And what do we know happens if we take action in these areas consistently? Results. Absolutely. All comes back to the results and the outcomes. And then when we start to see progress, when we start to see results, what happens then? How do we feel?
I feel more motivated.
Yeah, definitely. I might even stretch myself to say, if I start doing that, I might reach 3 days out of 10. Really motivated. But seriously, if we can nudge our general motivation levels up 10%, would that make a difference? Absolutely. And we can do that easily by starting small and building up those habits and building momentum. And it can start to become a bit of a virtuous cycle, but it's built on something solid. Okay, so I have a question for everybody now, and that is thinking about what we've spoken about: motivation, discipline, habits, starting small, momentum. What simple habit could you implement right now or tomorrow, maybe, or give you 24 hours at least, that could make the biggest difference?
Me, I guess one thing that's been going through my head is, or I think I've struggled at times with motivation because I've been so fixed on an outcome right at the end. And actually, I don't always have that outcome. So when that outcome's not there, I actually feel like maybe I need to take more pride, more sense of achievement in doing the things that help me get there or move further towards that end goal. And that is in turn will help me kind of keep me motivated and keep me ticking along. So when that big thing comes along again, I'm in a better place to then tackle it. So I've kept going slowly.
That's an interesting point. correct me if I'm misunderstanding. Are you saying that this is almost like difference between an outcome and a process goal, I suppose? Are you saying that we could take more pride in hitting an objective, say, of I'm going to do 10 runs over a given period?
Yeah, definitely. And actually for me, I guess I have kind of got a distance goal, or not a distance goal, kind of a goal when it comes to running, that I want to kind of be at a certain standard ability. I'm not there at the moment, but if I was to look over the last 6 months, I have run at least once a week, every week. And actually, when we add that up over the 1%, I'm probably 20-30% better than I was when I started again 6 months ago. So whether I've kind of known what that goal was, it's kind of made a significant difference.
Interesting. Yeah, I think definitely we could all give ourselves more credit when it comes to something like that, when it comes to actually looking at a habit or an action that we take regularly, because we deserve some credit for that, particularly if it's something that previously we struggled with. So I'm going to pick on you again, Jane, with your, or simply because it's a great example, you're running. That was a whole new thing to you, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, completely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just in, I don't know. I mean, please feel free to share if you want. I'm assuming, it's always dangerous, that it was about achieving the couch to 5K. Was it about 5K, or was it about I'm going to take the steps?
It was about taking the steps. I mean, the 5K is just a nice round number that sort of sounds good. It wasn't that ultimate goal, but it was all about feeling better about myself as well, and also doing something that I know in a difficult time of year was always going to be difficult anyway, and just another way of tackling that, I guess.
Yeah,
in a positive way.
Yeah, that makes it really valuable in so many other ways, other than I can run 5K.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, 5K is just a number. You're right.
Brilliant.
Well, what I'm hoping it is, though, it will make me fitter generally to be able to do other activities more easily as and when I can. Yeah,
brilliant. Okay, has anyone else got an example of a simple habit that they could start to implement, and something that's going to have big leverage? It's going to make a big difference. Anna, you've been quiet for a while. Must be your turn.
I knew you were going to pick on me. Well, there's lots of, as you know, my brain goes into overdrive, so I think of lots of little things and then go, oh no, that's not enough, that's not important enough. But I have done one, already done one since the girls went back to school, which is that I thought to myself, I want to get back to running more. And I find that hard when you've been able to run, not a long distance, but comfortably, and then you haven't done it for a while. It's then uncomfortable to do it. It becomes an effort. So I decided that instead of taking the dog for a walk, every time I took him out, I would put my running shoes on to encourage me to run, so that every time I take him, I run, even if it's just a little bit, which is more than nothing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, particularly if he gets to walk like 5 times a day.
Well, yes. That was my point. I'm like, yeah, it's something I have to do anyway. And I got the first week, I got back from walking him, and I'd just been wearing like my walking shoes, and I was like, oh, well, that was a bit silly. I should have just put my trainers on and like run up the hill. Even if I just run up the hill next to us here, that's like more than I would have done normally. So I thought, well, I'll just make sure I put my running shoes on instead. And then even if I forget to run up the hill, I'm going to remember at some point because I'm walking, right? And I go, oh, all right, I'll just do a run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good example actually, because it's something we talk about this a lot, that it's not another time commitment, because it's something that's already happening. It's actually just kind of optimizing and making the most of something that's already going to happen. Again, back to, most of us have got lots of stuff on, so it's like, oh, well, how am I going to possibly find the time to do this extra thing or this other thing? So yeah, that can be a really good strategy, is to find something that you can adjust that you're doing already, so that it gives you a better result.
I'm looking at this, and there's something that's standing out to me, which isn't really about exercise, but I guess it comes in more in this kind of the well-being, is that I often think about like just having a quick catch up with friends, but I often don't. And I think that if I just picked up the phone and just, even if it was a 5-minute chat to stay in touch, that in my overall well-being and feeling connected with people who are important to me would actually make a big difference, to me, but also probably to them as well. I think I tend to be quite insular, and I tend to be on the phone quite a lot during the day, and I don't really want to in the evenings, but actually I always feel better for having done that.
Great point. So yeah, great example. And again, it's so simple
and pleasurable. Yeah. So that much effort equals that much pleasure. Yeah, I think that's a good return on investment. So I mean, yesterday, for instance, our kids obviously aren't at home at the moment, but we often sort of make like not appointments to sit down and have a chat, but I was literally doing the washing up and WhatsApped my son while I was sitting there doing the washing up, and had a chat with him. Didn't take very long, and it was just kind of really nice to do, and it's just something I could do more of quite easily, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, great example. Brilliant. Okay, just conscious of time, I think we probably need to finish up now, really. So just a couple of points to finish off with in summary. So they are: motivation on its own is unreliable, completely unreliable. What we need to do instead is practice self-discipline. So to create these habits or these routines that happen regardless of how motivated we're feeling. So they happen if we're at 20% motivation, and it happens, but they might happen faster and better if we're having a 90% motivation day. And when it comes to putting it into practice, think about small things, making it really easy, and build up slowly. So we're also building that habit of success. And then finally is having a plan that we're working to, so you can measure that success and invest in some form of accountability to make sure you stay on the plan, and to make sure that we stay in touch with what those reasons and what those outcomes were in the first place. Yeah, so thank you, everybody. We've got just a few minutes left for some Q&A. So if anyone's got any questions, please do shout out. And if not, I do have some here that people have sent in advance because they couldn't make it. Someone sent me, what is your #1 tip for motivation? So I didn't launch into the fact that it's not motivation we need, it's discipline, etc., etc. There and then. I would say, firstly, that it's focus on self-discipline rather than motivation. And then specifically, a good start point for everybody is a morning routine, and starting with a fixed wake up time. It's almost a another way of looking at starting those habits. If you start first thing in the morning, it's like a domino effect, and things will continue to happen throughout the day. So that's a great simple start point. Just get up at the same time. Number 2, and whilst this may sound self-serving, I will explain. Number 2 is have a coach. I've got one myself when it comes to my health. I've also got one, you could arguably say 2 for business, and that keeps you accountable and it keeps you focused, and it guarantees, all but guarantees, you're going to achieve the results that you want. And I'd say number 3, again, it's back to this theme of simplicity, and Anna mentioned this a little bit earlier, which is just go back to, when it comes to your health, the fundamentals: movement, nutrition, sleep. And so if you can find one small thing in each of those areas, that will have an impact on your state and your energy. The more energy we have, probably the more motivated we're going to feel. So that was probably more like 5 tips of motivation, but never mind. We've got another couple of questions here. Jane, should we take yours about what to do next?
Can't remember what it was. Remind me.
It was, I'm paraphrasing, you're kind of through your couch to 5K, nearly finished, and you're concerned about what happens after that.
Yeah.
Okay. What ideas are you thinking about for what might happen next?
My aim, I think my reason for doing it, or keeping on doing it, is that I want to get back to playing tennis, and I want to be fit enough to play better and play well, and maybe even get to play some matches. So it's kind of feeding into hopefully improved fitness for when I get back on the tennis court.
Okay, so you're really clear on what it's for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've realised it won't be just for the pleasure of running.
Yeah, no, some people say, well, one day that will kind of click. I'm not convinced. Okay, well, I guess is it continuing running in some way, or is it taking that format that you've learned, which is effectively building slowly, step by step, and perhaps applying that to something else, so that you've got another almost like mini project to work on that gives you the same result?
Yeah. I mean, I have put out to a couple of friends. I mean, the friends who kind of got me into it as well, and a couple of other friends who started it subsequently, whether we do a park run when they're allowed, or a race for life or something like that. But but obviously there's no timing or certainty on that. So maybe setting that as a goal might be an additional way to do it. But at the moment it's really about improving my fitness so that I can do other things.
Yeah,
it's a means to an end rather than an end in itself for me.
Yeah, well, I think you said earlier, just keeping that in mind, that's what it's for.
Yeah,
is probably the most important thing, because for a lot of people, a lot of their exercise is actually a means to an end.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily enjoyable in itself unless it is a game, I suppose.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, unless anyone else has got any burning questions, we're going to have to wrap up now. But so thank you very much for joining us and for contributing. I hope it's been useful. And to those of you watching the recording, I hope you found it useful as well. And yeah, just finally a reminder, book in your strategy call with a member of the team, and we'll be doing another session again next month. So look forward to seeing you all then.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.